good friends over time, seeking retribution. We got winning on our mind. We've got to cross the line. West Tigers faithful, episode 19. We are into the extended squad of episodes, but to be quite honest with you, we're only just getting started.
Oh,
This is a momentous day. Joe McCord, how are you?
I'm really good, mate. It's been a great week so far. It was a great week last week, and we've finally got some football to watch.
Indeed we do, and we're going to try and review it as best as we can. But first, who's our sponsor?
Well, of course, that would be Pinch Payments, Australia's favourite online payments platform for service-based businesses out there who are struggling to get those pesky late payers in line and to get your invoices paid on time. Give us a shout, getpinch.com.au, and we can sort that out for you.
Now, what everybody has been waiting for, I suppose, the interview with Shannon Gallant, but I suppose it's worth telling everybody the fact that you found Shane Richardson's number and decided to send him a text message last week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Look, I mean, I have my ways. I tried to get, I'll go straight for the big dog, why not? Like, got to shoot for the moon, and then, you might at least, end up whatever that crappy phrase is. Look, he knocked us back. He said that he only does members podcasts, but that's okay. Maybe we'll just keep building our profile through interviews with the likes of S. Gallant and so on and so forth. And maybe eventually Shane will give us the respect we deserve.
He was very, very respectful and professional in his reply. And
yeah, he was. He was very lovely. He was a great man, considering he got a SMS from a number he would never have seen before from a bloke he's probably never heard of.
That said, could you imagine how many zero tackle journos would be lighting up his phone every week?
Yeah, and he probably ignores them all, but he didn't ignore me, and that's just because I'm just talented, I suppose.
Firm, fair, polite, like you always said, like a good father.
That's right. Yeah, I took that approach with him. He took it with me, and we shook hands and left it there with a bit of an exchange of emojis.
Well, what you did do after that was continue on your quest to find some podcasting talent, and in what I believe would be his second ever podcast after appearing on Behind the Roar was one Shannon Gallant.
Yep,
who is going to join us in a couple of minutes. I'm really, really excited for this one. Obviously, Pathways manager of the entire place, local junior that came through the grades. I think he's got some amazing insights to give us, which I'm really, really keen to hear about. What about you, mate?
We're talking about the Mighty Mouse here, man. He's one of the NRL's cult heroes of the last 20 years. Even though he didn't put too many games on the field, I reckon, and this is definitely a stat David Middleton will never put together, I reckon he's got the best highlight reel to games played ratio of any player, aside from people who might have played one great game and been injured. But his highlight reels are 8 minutes of quality. That's pretty impressive, I think, for a bloke who played under 50 games.
Is that not Bonstocker video by chance?
I don't know.
I'd say it would be.
It's a bloody good video, but he's he pulled off some pretty incredible plays in his short tenure here at the Tigers and at the Cowboys.
Bloody good player, bloody good Pathways manager. I reckon he's going to be a half decent interview as well. Here is our little 20-minute virtual sit down with one Shannon Gallant. We had a special guest last week. It was SG ball assistant coach Mitchell Tyler, but we've upgraded this week. We got the man that's his boss, Shannon Gallant, Pathways manager of the West Tigers. How are you, mate?
Good, gents. Let me just tell you this, though. Mitch Tyler is going to hate that intro. He's going to hate it.
I don't know whether or not he's going to be a return visitor anyway. He was absolutely unreal last week.
He did the job.
But here we are. Mate, quick one for you, really, really quick. I have a vivid memory of watching you on the television. I think it was a 4 p.m. Sunday afternoon game. And Fui Moimoi breaks through to the defensive line, and there's one man at the back. It's you. What was running through your mind?
his hip. That's what was running through my mind, straight through him. No, just get low, mate, and hope for the best. That was essentially all I did every time I tackled.
That was a bloody good tackle, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a big target.
Mac, you were saying the other day that Mighty Mouse was one of the first sort of guys that you followed through all the way from lower grades to NRL. Do you want to?
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned when I hit you up about this, you mentioned that we obviously have a bit of a soft spot for Pathways. So I was one of those kids growing up that was, big league, rugby league week every week. And I used to always like flick through and check out who was coming up through the lower grades. And your name always used to stand out. I don't know, you were absolutely a gun when it came to the Pathways. That's sort of, where I guess like that whole thing comes from, why we focus so much on Pathways, because I think I speak for Reedie when I can say like we get a really good kick out of like scouting them in the lower grades and then seeing them actually hit first grade. It's just such a different buzz. So you were definitely one of my early scout jobs when I was reading those rags, and to see you end up hitting first grade was awesome. And you were definitely one of my favorite all-time West Tigers. So it's an absolute honor to actually get to have a chat with you.
Appreciate it, man.
No worries. So I mean, as a bloke who did kind of come into first grade and for whatever reason, never really managed to like put, a massive career together. Does that kind of actually give you, the insights that you now use in that Pathways role? Is that kind of like, do you consider that a bit of a strength?
Yeah, I do actually, to be honest. I know essentially what it takes to get there, but also know that tomorrow isn't promised. So it's an understanding around football was everything to me as a kid coming through the Pathways, and I probably focused a little bit too much on my football, to be honest. I threw everything into that and then didn't really have sort of a backup. I was pretty lucky in the sense when I'd finished at the Cowboys that I come back in and fell into a job with a building company whose boss and his partner were outstanding to me and really, really good for me. I did my apprenticeship through them, and I was lucky. And I understand that that not everyone's going to have that opportunity, and that I suppose be lucky in that sense. I had a young family when I'd finished up, so to be able to have that opportunity when I came down, I did realise how lucky I was. So my main focus is making sure that we provide a pathway for our players that they can potentially fulfil their dream, but let them know that and let them understand that ultimately it's only a small percentage that actually get to fulfil their dream, and not only fulfil it, but have a long sustained career. So making sure that they've got something to fall back on, and we've got a good support staff within our Pathways with wellbeing and player development managers, etc., to make sure that we're putting the kids in the best position to be successful both on and off the field.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, sorry, Reedie. So do you take like an interest in like getting to know these young fellas? Like, is that like a thing that you put a lot of time into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's you want these players to know that, and especially the families, that know that they're putting their sons and daughters, career path in our hands. So we want to make sure that they're comfortable within the people that they're leaving them with. So it's definitely a focus of mine to get to know not just the player but their families outside of it as well. Just so that they know that every day when their son's going off to hopefully fulfill their dream, that they're in the right hands.
And like when you're actually doing the job of a scout, like is that sort of like part of that too, like getting to know them? Do you kind of like try to scout the soft skills as much as the footy talent?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about the football talent. You see that you've got clubs out there at the moment, the Melbourne Storms, etc., who have done it very successfully for a long period of time, and the extra, I suppose, avenues that they take in regards to their scouting. So part of my professional development, and I've got a really good mentor in both Shane Richardson and Matt Betsy around, teaching me this role. And I know that both of those guys are pretty big on what the person's like, both off the field and on the field. So that's something that I've taken on board, and I get a clear vision of that, especially the ones that we get on as an early age, that it gives us enough time to scout those that, what they're like and how they might transition into a first grader, and if that is something that they might be able to do.
Unreal. Shannon, you mentioned Richo there as one of your mentors. He came in early last year. He obviously has always been big on junior development, whether it be at South Penrith, Cronulla, etc. What have you seen change or evolve under Shane in his time, and as as you've evolved into this new role where you oversee both junior recruitment and pathways across both West and Balmain?
I think every time you walk out of the office when you've met with Richo, you have a clear vision around what your role and responsibility is. So I think that has probably been the main thing for me, is understanding what my role responsibility is, and others within the club. With Richo, he's been really good in setting through and giving promotion to those within. He's got a staff here at the club that he's really passionate about and helping become better people. So for mine, Richo's appointment, it's just been it's steadied the ship. That's the easy way to put it. We all understand what our responsibility is. We've got a catchcry here: do your job, and as long as we're doing our job, which we all are, we're going to be successful. And I can tell you, being around this office, compared to this time last year, it's just a completely different place. So very much looking forward to what the season brings. And it's going to be good.
Amazing. You talk about certain attributes on and off field, personally, professionally, all those sorts of things. A couple of boys that caught our eye that we're pretty sure you scouted. Just wanted to get your thoughts on a few of them. So Logan Brooks, or Deninja, I don't know what his last name is, but I know that he's a Townsville boy from Kirwan. Joe is very, very high on him. Can you sort of talk us through what you saw and what you were keen on, and sort of why you got him to come down here?
Saw his film, liked what he bring. He's sharp off both left and right foot. Plays an old school fullback type role where he's a good support player, etc. So what we're doing with him at the moment is working around on his sweep shape, turning that corner and being able to create for others. That definitely didn't come natural for me as a player. He's a lot better than I was, but there's what I look for is they've got to have some sort of base, a strong base that we can work off, but understanding that there's stuff there that we can help develop as well. Logan Brooks, off the field, he's an outstanding individual. He's a great kid. He's come down. He's moved into with one of our house parents down here at the club, and there's nothing but good raps on the kid. He's outstanding both on and off the field, and he played very well on the weekend, which is good to see.
Amazing. What about Betty Muan from New Zealand?
Yep. So he was one that was contracted to the club previous to my taking over. So he'd been, I think this is his third out of 4-year deal. I went over to New Zealand mid last year just to assess him and see if that was something that obviously we were going to be doing long term. And what I've seen in Benny, he was at a boarding school in New Zealand playing rugby. From watching one game, his leadership was outstanding. He's a strong carry. But the way that he led his group and the communication skills that he had and the way that he carries himself, he comes from an outstanding family, and he was one that we were like, yep, this is the kid that we definitely want to come over here. And again, he was very good. Bronson Harrison's been, and the coaching staff over at Balmain have been wrapped with how he's gone.
And obviously you talk about communication, the way that he marshaled that right edge the other day with, some very dangerous blokes. One here, Marcy Makasini, and so forth. He did very, very well. Joey Parch, is he a Balmain junior, or was he another external recruitment?
He's a trainer trialist that's come in and just done an outstanding job. We're obviously doing some things there now to make sure that we get him long term, but he's just come in, and that's where Bronson and the guys at Balmain have done a really good job to make sure that there's a program in place where these guys come in. Not everyone will be contracted. Some will come in on trainer trials opportunities that they're going to develop and grow, and he's been one of those ones that I know Bronson and the crew have been happy with, and from our end, we've been pretty happy with him as well.
Sensational, mate. There's one last one for the West side, of course. Harry Matz, James Lenyon, phenomenal mover. Was I saw he was playing. Was he playing HA Cup last year? Is that correct?
No. So he's one that come out of the blue for us. So we got his brother Josesi Lenyon in the Jersey Fleet Cup. It was made aware to me that he had a younger brother that was pretty handy as well. So I assessed some tape, etc., on him and brought him into our Harold Matthews program. Found out what he was like as a kid first before we committed to anything. Very outstanding kid, quiet, well-spoken, very grateful for the opportunity, and he's just grown in leaps and bounds. I know that the coaching staff were unaware of him at the start, but a couple of sessions in, they were stoked to have him.
Amazing. I know that there's guys that you've mentioned as being under the radar sort of guys to the Telegraph and so forth, guys like Cohen Lewis, Jeremiah Liadagaga come to mind. Anybody sort of getting around the traps at the minute that we probably don't show a lot of emphasis towards it, that are flying under the radar that you're quite excited about?
Oh, look, I'm a Pathways guy. I'm excited about all the kids and the opportunity they have. Obviously, I've spoken about a few of those boys, Phoenix, Godinays, etc. They're not so much flying under the radar.
No, he definitely is.
No, he's not. But another one, Jared Haywood. You know, guys like we've got a good core group of kids at both West and Balmain that are doing the right things right at the moment, and we're excited to see. The Balmain one is obviously extremely exciting for us because they haven't probably been successful in the last few seasons, but they've come away with a good win on the weekend. They've built some confidence in the coaching staff have done a great job for them. So for us seeing those guys and how they're gelling, obviously it's been really great for us. So there's going to be there's going to be some guys that stand tall in that group.
Amazing. There's a question here from, I don't know if you're familiar, NBWT on Twitter. Could you provide a quick overview of the pathway from when kids go from being identified formats to being a part of the NRL system? So at what point does West Tigers, as opposed to Balmain or the Maggies itself, become involved in their retention at Western Balmain and planning their progression?
So just to give you a bit of background on it, myself, I'm a West Tigers employee. Bronson Harrison, who runs our Balmain Pathways, West Tigers employee. Bryce Crane, who runs our MacArthur side of the Pathways, he's a West Tigers employee. So every player that is contracted from the 15 age group and up, which is when you're allowed to sign players, they are West Tigers signed players. All right. So, they might have a West Magpies pathway or a Balmain pathway where they will go in and play. But ultimately, they are West Tigers signed players from the word go. So we're identifying. So part of my recruitment process is obviously going through what our depth chart looks like, what positions that we potentially weak in, and identifying kids that will potentially come through the grades. But ultimately, and I have this conversation with our flag coach quite a bit. Jersey flag for us is not so much we want to win the competition there. That's built for further development of our better SG ball players. So the first opportunity we get for a season-long program to bring our West Pathways and our Balmain Pathways together. So you'll see the likes of, we just mentioned him before, Phoenix Godinay, Christian DePow Moores, Jared Haywoods, Mark Tanusas. Those guys will come in and be part of that Jersey Flag program. So that's kind of that, besides our Cubs programs, we get them for season-long there. So to answer the question, they're West Tigers scouted players from the word go.
Amazing. Thanks, mate.
So just back to your role specifically, just getting away from the players for a second, I just want to talk about the competitiveness or whether there is any there in junior recruitment. We know how competitive it is at the NRL level. Is there a similar level of competitiveness from club to club when it comes to junior recruitment?
Yes, to an extent there is. Yeah, absolutely. We're a development club. We know how big our area is. We've got a lot of clubs that are close by that potentially like to peek over and see what is there, and that's just the nature of the beast. That's the world we live in. We're going to understand that. The big thing for us is making sure that we're implementing programs that, yes, all right, we might not be able to contract you to the amount a certain other club can, but you got to understand the pathway here is one of those that we're proud of, and that's the main thing for us is putting coaching staff in place that are going to give the best development to our juniors, therefore making it harder for a kid to make a decision to want to leave our club. And we believe over the last several seasons, and you're starting to see that at the Balmain side of things now as well, is that we have a pathway in place where coaches and people around are not just the players are developing, but coaches are developing, and we're starting to reap the rewards of that through the players and their progression.
Yeah, that coaching development's an interesting one. I think that Matt Beatsy's role kind of used to be like that when he was at Cricket Australia, if I remember correctly. Yep. So is that something that he's specifically brought to the club?
So he was part of appointing Brett Kamali, who's our Pathways coaching performance. So he oversees all of our coaches. So Betsy's had that sort of rollover at cricket. What Betsy's very good at is structurally implementing programs and giving us the tools to be successful, but also making sure that we're doing the right things and ticking the boxes to not just be doing something for the sake of doing something. We're making sure that we're getting benefit out of it, and most of all our players and coaches are. So he's been really good in that sense. But yeah, Brett Kamali is our Pathways coach, but we also, obviously, we have good coaching staff at the NRL where they're drip feeding down everything that they do from an NRL standard and giving it to the NRL coaches. So we invite our coaches to come in here and be a part of NRL sessions whenever they want. They just got to give us a few days' notice. We let Benji know, and they just shadow the guys and understand and soak up what's getting done or implemented at the NRL level.
So when it comes to the junior recruitment, like I imagine it can be a little bit tough when it starts to get competitive because you're dealing with like literal kids, right? So like there's got to be like some sensitivity there. Like does it ever get like ugly? Like, and how do you sort of navigate that? Is it just about sitting down with the family and being like as transparent and honest as possible?
Absolutely. There's probably one thing I need to make clear. Like, we are a development club, so we don't look to recruit externally very often, if at all. We are about retention. We want to give our kids the best possible opportunity to develop and come through our pathways. Now, we understand in the Macarthur area, that is a growing area, and that there potentially will be people that, want to come in and pry, etc. But ultimately, does it get ugly? I mean, not really. We sit with, if the families feel like their pathway is better served somewhere else, then that's their prerogative, and that they're more than welcome to do so. Ultimately, we just need to back ourselves on what we're doing here. And if kids decide or players decide that their best opportunities elsewhere, then so be it, because our pathway or our regions, both Balmain and West Macarthur, are quite big, and we just start developing the next. So main thing is, though, we're not a recruitment club. We don't go to Queensland carnivals, etc., to recruit kids. For the most part, we go there to judge where our kids are up against these ones. Like anywhere, there will be a hole that you potentially need to fill. As you've seen the Balmain side of things this year, they lost a few players over the last few seasons, and there's a couple of holes we needed to fill, and we've done that, and those guys have come in and done a great job.
Yeah, you've done that very well.
Shannon, something that was spoken about mainly through JP's tenure as CEO was the Campbelltown Pathways Academy that I think was going to be built out the back of Western Sydney University's Campbelltown campus. Is that progressing, mate? Where's that at?
No, look, we're at the moment we're based out of St Greg's College. I know that there's talks of obviously the Centre of Excellence going in at Campbelltown Stadium. Not too sure where that's at the moment. That's more of a Richo and Betsy sort of conversation. For the most part, we're pretty lucky. We've got obviously St Greg's College there that have been great to us, and we've been able to host our programs in the Macarthur area out of there. They've got all the facilities that we need, and then we obviously got Eagle Vale Sports High that's coming in as well, who have opened their doors up and said that we can use those facilities when we're needed as well, and that'd be great, especially for our female pathways, as they're obviously implementing in a female pathway within the school as well.
Absolutely. Mate, I have one last question for you. This will probably, I know that it's no leaks and everything like that on the SS West Tigers these days, but I know you sit in on those top 30 recruitment conversations and so forth. Are we sort of looking to fill spot 30 immediately, or are we sort of keeping our powder dry at the minute?
Mate, I'll come back to you on that one.
Somebody went to the Shane Richardson School of Public Relations. I love it.
No, mate, yeah. We're all I'll tell you is we're heading in the right direction, and I'm very excited for how the season looks this year.
That's all we need, mate. Thank you so much. Shannon, thank you so much for your time. I know you've got to run to Campbelltown now for a Pathways-related meeting, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to host you. Thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we can drag you on after West and Balmain finish up their junior rep seasons, and we can do a bit of a review, eh? Yeah, absolutely. Look, what I'll say is just wrap with what you guys are doing, man. It's really good to see, people that are invested in our pathways. When I listened to the podcast the other day and spitting out the names and you knew a bit about them, it's good for not just us to listen to and understand that you guys are buying into what we're doing, but it's good for our kids too to know they're being recognised and for their work and effort as well. So I appreciate what you guys are doing as well. Always, mate. I'll see you at Moorebank on Saturday. Sounds good.
We're actually going to get to chat in a couple of days to Tim and Noah Johansson. So.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yep, sweet. Yes. Both gentlemen, good fellas, very good guys. Yeah.
He's their father is a big fan of the podcast. So.
Oh, is he? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, good stuff. Sweet as.
Anyway.
Thanks so much, Shannon. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thanks for that, lads. See you.
Thanks, mate. You take care. Bye.
Bye.
He's a good interview, mate.
He is impressive.
Yeah, he's a bloke who you can tell sort of has come into his own recently. Like
Yeah,
he's just I think under Richo, like his way he spoke about Richo, you could tell he had a genuinely good answer for that question. So Richo is 100%. Got him to a new place, and I think that you can see that. One of the things that we might as well keep rolling. One of the things that I noticed when looking through the New South Wales Cup roster is, like, and I think I might have mentioned this. There's a lot more kids there that have sort of, like, in the past, I would expect maybe have fallen out of the Pathways because they feel like that, if they don't make first grade young, they give up on the Pathways. And I reckon, some of the things that Shannon was saying there are very kind of relevant there, because it feels to me like they've done a much better job lately getting the kids to buy into the fact that the club is one to persevere with.
I agree. There was actually an interview that Phil Gould did with my old alma mater, Levels Network, and he actually said that he's having conversations with families, players, and player managers. These kids, like, for example, a kid like Jack Underhill, right? And he's saying to them, look, the current trajectory is that you're probably not going to play first grade until you're 23, 24. And you're already seeing that straight away, the paradigm shifting at West Tigers. Sort of 23 and 24 pre-seasons were very, very clearly Tim Sheen's influenced, where we had about 60 blokes doing pre-season, and you had all these kids on train and trial contracts getting a taste. Whereas this year, you've only got here, Mussy Makasini and Mark Tannels. Like, that's it. So straight away, it's almost like, okay, there are levels to this.
Yeah.
And your time will come, but you have to earn it. So, straight away, doing an SG ball or a HM preseason, then moving to flag, then to cup, and then obviously finally onto first grade. Like, he obviously name dropped guys like Phoenix and Jared Hayward.
He must be pretty impressed with Phoenix. Like, he mentioned him a couple of times.
He did mention Phoenix a couple of times.
Do you want to just roll into just doing a quick review of the games since we've got a little bit of extra time?
Well, mate, I'm very thankful that you said that, and I'm thankful that I did some analysis today. I paid the $7 48-hour pass for.
You got it again, did you?
Bar TV. So, just a quick disclaimer for everybody. I said New South Wales Rugby League TV last week. Don't use that. Just go to Bar TV. They'll sort you out, because I don't think you can access it from the app at the moment. And furthermore, it's
when you go to NSWRL TV, it has it in the banner and it links there, so it's not the end of it. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Okay. I have just some really, really rough notes. So why don't you kick in first? Yeah. I'll give you my analysis, because I need to match some player numbers with some.
No, you go write your run sheet while I waffle on. It's
start on Harold Matts, would you?
Well, I can't because I only watched the SG ball game.
All right. I'll start with Harold Matts. So I watched that game in full. I only got to about 15 into the second half of SG ball, which was when Logan Brooks the Ninja was beginning to wind up. So
I watched the whole SG ball game. So there you go. We'll sort that sorts that out.
Beautiful. Harry Matt's first half was a great little arm wrestle. There was a lot of back and forth, and both teams looked fit and prepped from the get-go. They completed high. There was a couple of errors, but compared to SG ball, there was nowhere near as many, nor was there as many penalties. There was from about the first try that Elijah Sefor scored off a beautiful Curtis Lakeman.
He looked good.
He looked okay. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Are you talking about Lakeman or Sefor?
Sefor.
Yeah, okay. Oh, well, I was thinking the former. Yeah, Sefor was.
And Lakeman.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to Lakeman soon. Yeah. So I felt like after the first try, both teams got into a grind, and then after Siatame Havea went over, things got a little sloppier. I think both of them were trying to play a little bit more side to side, and West were obviously better at that. West played really, really straight away looking at their style of footy. So Javon, Siatame, all play quite straight, and that gives room for Tommy Goodfield to sort of play out the back a little bit. I want to give a shout out to Zafania Finau. I thought he was extremely impressive, absolute monster. He was the number 8 for West. He's a year young this year, did not look out of place and was scattering defenders everywhere. The West number 10 and the West number 17 were both equally impressive, both middle forwards, big bodies, but mobile big bodies. I reckon if we were going to do a bit more of a deep dive with Shannon on what he's looking for positionally, high leg speed is absolutely on the menu.
I might have to ask him if he can come on every week.
yeah, that'd be nice. Siatame Havea, look, everybody knows about him, but he just passes beautifully. He can offload. He's got great line speed. He does the 1% as well. He's great on kick pressure, ties in on the inside. He sort of schemes. He doesn't run. He can run straight and hard, but he also goes looking for gaps in the defensive line where he can finally quick play the ball and find his front. My only criticism of Tame was that he just shot out of the line too quick, which led to a Balmain try. But you know that's just a case of being too keen. But my God, fit as a fiddle. I don't think he got off the field. Curtis Lakeman, number 7, has all the he has all the skills. His long and short kicking game was shit hot. I loved how on his long kicking game he chased his own kicks, and I loved his work down short sides. It was similar to sort of Luke Keary, even Luke Brooks. To a lesser extent, his cut-out try assist was beautiful. He should have had 3 try assists, to be quite frank. His winger should have dropped the ball with the line wide open, and the poor fella, he stepped out the sideline in the second half as well. But phenomenal attacking footballer, has all the skills. So somebody that I'm really, really excited to see come through. On the other side of the field, his opposite number, the Balmain number 7, I thought at the beginning of the game was really, really busy. Sort of took the ball one off the ruck and was distributing a little bit, trying to get his players around the field. I think it seems to be a constant on both West and Balmain, which is obviously a West Tigers directive, that one sort of sniff around the middle of the field, think Logan Brooks, think Tom Goodfield. As Shannon just said there, that's kind of what you want. Very, very traditional ruck play, but then obviously, those sweep shapes on play 4-5, which are so crucial these days, playing as a second 5'8". But Tommy Goodfield, I know some people will think he was quiet, but I just came away with starry eyes. His passing game's beautiful. He's got a great draw and pass. He plays his footy at the line. Look, he does tend to get whacked a bit, but, that's easy enough. Just hit the zinger boxes and the creatine, Tommy boy. His short kicking produced a dropout, which isn't a shock to anybody. If you've watched him play junior football before, his short kicking game is elite. He's got great game awareness. Like, I saw him get the ball out acting half a couple of times and just went scheming around. Like, that's a sign of a great fullback, his involvement and his work rate. Balmain were really, really committed early with their line speed. They can be commended for that. They look fit. They look well coached. It was just one of those things where, they probably needed to blow the cobwebs out, and that's a round 1 thing. Balmain, number 3, I was really impressed with. I thought he had a really high work rate. James Lanyon, we spoke about with Shannon before. He's strong into contact when he rucks the ball out. Players bounce off him. He evades thousands of defenders, and he made a couple of breaks downfield where you were just looking at him and just go, oh my God, like just the way he moves like a rugby league player, which is exciting. Balmain's number 5.
Moves like an NFL player.
Yeah, bro. Insane. Balmain's number 5, who I think deputised a little bit at fullback. I'll need his name. He was rapid, quick. I really, really like the look of him. The West left centre, their number 3. Good things just seem to happen around him. So on the opposite side to Sefor, he had a couple of one-on-one steals, which led to a try for Javon Lele. He sort of made breaks out of nothing. He's a big gangly type, just one of those guys where, good things just happen around, but, just up to it physically and just a big body to handle. West number 9, who I think was Brock A. Church, forgive me if I'm wrong, sorry, West number 9, he was really busy as well. So, look, straight away, West look like they have a side that can do good things this year. Big bodies in the middle, complemented by Siatame. Lakeman gets them around the field and he can create points. Javon plays really, really straight, which creates opportunities for Goodfield out the back. James Lanyon, I just touched on. The West number 3 I just touched on. Really, really exciting. Shout out Ruben, who got a try as well. He learned that down at old 2571 touch. And there was still some things to like about Balmain. I think they're going to win a few games this year. So, look, that's my wrap. What did you see?
Yeah, so I must say I said it before that I didn't watch the game, and then I said he was really impressive. So that must have been confusing. I watched I watched like the second half mostly. I missed the first half. Because I missed the first half, I was sort of zoning in and out on the Harry Matts game. But I also did go back and watch some of the key highlights especially after somebody pointed out how well Lanyon played. I went back and specifically watched a couple of his highlights.
That was our very own Vic Mackey. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, most of like what you said, I agree with. I thought Lakeman was outstanding. I was extremely impressed with him. And I think that one of the things that like you and a few other people have said that it probably ties in a little bit with what I'll talk about with the ball is how well coached Balmain looked in spite of the fact that they suffered a big loss. And I think that in the SG ball, the fact that they looked well coached turned out to be the reason I think they won, because the Balmain SG ball side, player for player, doesn't have the same, star quality. We call them stars there in the kids, but the same sort of name quality as what their West's counterparts had. And so what I think is that the Balmain coaching staff that have been working with the Harold Matts and the SG Ball done a really, really good job with these guys. And it sounds to me like Shannon and whoever else is involved there has also done a really good job keeping the players together that they needed to, and actually bringing in the players that they needed to fill the holes. So because a lot of the guys that they brought in, that some of which I never heard of at all, really performed well. So I think that I think ultimately what it came down to was that, and also the performance of the 7, Mark Tanus. And obviously he's very experienced for the SG ball age. And as you alluded to, he was training with the NRL squad in the off season. He was also, a player that the club has actually had their eye on for a number of years. And because of that, it seems to me like, they've got the 7 who can really run the game plan well. The coaches have done a really good job installing the game plan. And it's probably the same game plan that the NRL team run, because I know that they try to actually make sure that the plan and the player archetypes and things like that are consistent all throughout the grades, so that when they make that push through the grades, that they're not having to relearn too much. It sort of keeps them from getting overwhelmed as they progress through the grades. So on Tanus, I thought he was really impressive to start the game. He was just putting up good kicks. At first it was like very intentional. You could see what he was doing. He wasn't really like trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck too much. It was just where he was putting the ball, making sure that, he was putting Wests in the positions that he needed to kind of force the issue a little bit, make them, do a little bit too much. Just like, it was really obvious to me that once he sort of got the impression, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It looked as if, like straight away, that he had a plan from the outset. He was turning his back row, who I think was Meslamani, who had a great game under a fair bit. More than happy to distribute, but then would just put the ball exactly where he needed it and put Carnum under pressure, and it prevailed a couple of times. It was almost this death by 1,000 cuts approach, which you can see in structured halfbacks, but it was a performance that belied his age. It was really interesting. But what I liked about him is that sometimes you have these really, really structured 7s that can do, the real basics, like a Chad Townsend or a Kyle Flanagan, that can get your team around the park, but they can't actually put points on the board. He did it. Like, the cutouts he threw and the kicks he put in and everything like that was befitting of a player that is destined for higher honours. Nothing fazed him. We said last week, obviously, Alex Conti left for the Dogs, and, you and I, pre, WTF times, we're gutted about it. And, Alex has gone on to do great things at the Dogs, and that's a credit to him. But, for them to put the faith in Mark that they have, to back him despite his injuries, to give him another NRL preseason, he just looks like a guy that, is really going to do strong things. You know, Shannon just mentioned him just then. He's going to go back into the Jersey flag setup. He's not going to look out of place. It was really impressive. But what I will say is that his job was made easier by the class of Jarrod Haywood at 9. Like, just his work in attracting markers, putting them in both minds, you know, dragging them in to give the ball to his forwards. Balmain's 13 was exceptional. I thought Mate Aitchison was good as well, who I believe got on the score sheet. They just, it was unreal. But Balmain, I think, straight away looked, first of all, more up for the contest. They looked fitter and they were right from the word go. Their line speed, similar to Harold Matson, you said that was a trend across both grades, was excellent. But they had a game plan and they executed it. And to see that in a bunch of 19-year-olds is insane. And that's a credit to Bronson Harrison, Shane Sultan, Shannon Gallant, and the rest. You know, they were awesome. West, on the flip side, they found it really easy to get downfield, I felt. Like, despite the fact that they were lacking a fair amount of cohesion, and we'll get to that, they had no issue getting down into Balmain's red zone. But they gave away heaps of stupid penalties. And then on last tackle, like, there was a time when Bursill threw the ball to Cohen Lewis on the last tackle when they were on the attack early in the first half. And, you know, these things happen round one. Like, that's okay. But at the same time, you know, these are things that need to be worked out and sorted out quickly. You need to smooth over those kinks. But, you know, that's, again, it was a credit to Balmain. They were on. Their spine was amazing. And, you know, Tanus and Haywood were ready from minute 1, but to see after sort of minute 35 in that second half, Logan Brooks just come to life. That was something to watch.
Yeah, and he's one of mine, so I'm going to cut in here. I was a little bit worried at halftime because, you know, it wasn't so much that he didn't look great in the first half. He just didn't do anything really, and the one touch that he did have. He took the ball on a sweep shape and tried to put a grubber in and missed the ball and knocked it on, and it was like, oh. But then came out in the second half, and the first significant play that he made was off kick return, hit the left foot and was gone, and it was like, yeah, there's the guy that I saw highlights of from Cohen. He left Marcassini like diving for him, and away he went. And then it just continued that way. Every time he got the ball, one off the rock, you know, not much happening. Boom, off the left foot, and he's leaving guys grasping. And that's really impressive because this is his first game in the New South Wales lower grades. I think it's probably the highest standard of game he would have ever played, probably the best team he's ever played against, because that Magpies team is stacked. So I think that it was a very promising outing for him, and I'm very excited to continue to see his development. The step looks like the Benji step. Like, you don't see that much. Where you get that, like, they sort of jump in the air and seem to like sort of pivot in midair kind of step. And yeah, very exciting to see.
Mate, as Shannon said, good left foot, good right foot.
I didn't see much off the right foot, so when Shannon said that, I was like, we'll see.
Yeah, that was it. That was exciting. Look, we spoken sort of Balmain 179. Quick mention of the 6, Colin Benson, who I thought kicked well, and
he was really good.
Yeah, he just played a really, really solid Robin to Tanus's Batman. But
and Taufai Inger as well, the center, was
okay,
probably the best on the ground, I would say.
He was so much fun to watch. Much fun to watch. Like, you'd watch, he would bounce into contact, and that's how he scored his first try. But even coming out of yardage, he was a ball of energy. He was so much fun to watch.
You know who he reminded me of? It was Olam. Like, he has that sort of style of play. Like, he kind of seemed like there was a few times there where he got the ball out wide and tried to get as much momentum up before hitting the line. So he's a lot of angle runs, but not like angle runs where he's hitting a hole off a short ball or anything like that. It was just like wind up angular, just so you can build up as much momentum as possible, hit the defense and spin. He was really difficult for the Magpies to handle.
Oh.
I was really impressed by that. I also thought that the another one that you didn't mention, was the number 14 Vandree.
Yes.
I've never heard of this kid before. I mentioned to you that he was from North Sydney, Harold Matts last year, which is not a club that actually represents any NRL feeder system. So it would have been nice to get Shannon's input on him, but we just didn't have quite enough time. I thought he was super impressive. He's a 13. I had a bit of a squiz at lots of his like lower grade performances. He's not a prop because he's quite small. He's a 13 and he looked really good.
Absolutely. The other one that we did speak about there was Ben Muan. I thought he did an excellent job containing Hiamasi. We're going to get to Hiamasi in a sec, but I thought he did a really good job. He was willing on both sides of the ball. And obviously his communications are a really big, important part of what they do. West performance straight away. I felt like they just premeditated a little bit. We sort of went into the game on Saturday completely blind, but semi-aware of they were going to play a fairly structured game. The problem was that I think that was what their undoing. You have a guy like Hiamasi there who is an absolute weapon in his own right, and you try and use him in ways that are going to unlock defences. But it's also in the way that you don't use him. He's probably the most effective decoy runner in SG ball. Let's be serious. If you get him running a hard lead line down a short side, hypothetically, they're going to take him every time, and you play straight at that line, you throw that ball out the back, my God, it's going to be a 2-on-1, and most players finish that off. I thought that, his hit-ups out of yardage were good. His defence was fine. It seemed to me that it was sort of like, Ferrari in the garage type thing, just sort of.
Yeah, he played in a dinner suit.
He absolutely did. And,
one must wonder why, though. Because, I was sort of expecting him to come out and, with all due respect, dominate. I thought that he would just dominate. I understand he's younger than most of the other kids out there. He's a year young for ball, but I wouldn't have expected that to matter considering what I heard about his performances in the NRL squad in the off-season and how he stacked up against the NRL players. But maybe there was a little bit of he already knows something we don't about what's going to happen in the not too distant future.
Mate, sign of a champion is how they bounce back the week after. And
give him
both West and Canterbury will be absolutely stinging.
If you listen to this and it sounds like Shannon implied that they do, there you go, Marcy. It's you got to show us what you can do next week.
Marcy wouldn't listen to us, mate.
Oh, you never know. Maybe Shannon will go play it to them all because he's on it.
No, I'm really, really interested to see how this West side bounces back. They've already made some interesting changes. Sammy Lynch has gone to the bench, and Junior Fagalele, who was playing for Parramatta last year, was their starting fullback. I believe it might have been SG Ball, Harry Matts, is playing 6, which I'm really interested about. Riley, once he went to fullback, I thought he unlocked a lot of sort of opportunities through the middle. I thought he was
good on the wing too, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was one of our better players. He starts at fullback this week. I'm not sure where Ali's gone, whether or not he's been dropped or whether he's injured. But
well, he did switch, during the game. So
yeah.
I can't imagine. It was actually strange at the time. I didn't, because I thought Cunningham was playing good. I know he made one error, but aside from that, I thought he was probably one of the best players for the Magpies. So my guess would be he must have had a niggle.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair. Archie Duncan poked his nose through a few times, got some offloads away. One to Cohen Lewis, which was awesome. One which was to Riley Ointman, which led as well. I think that's going to create plenty of opportunities through the middle. He starts in the front row this week, so won't be a little black book. I thought Peter Ty, when he came on, really steadied the ship. And
he was good.
Shift in the middle, and I was impressed with Cohen Lewis as well, who is somebody that I know that Shannon rates very highly.
Yeah.
So all of those guys had a decent crack. I just think it was a matter of, being a little bit off the pace initially, both first and second half for West. It took them a little while to come out of the sheds. I think they premeditated their attack a little bit. And obviously, the Jack Nicholas heart in mouth moment was a big one too, which would have leveled the scores with about 5 to go.
I think that I put that mostly down to the positioning of the fullback, because he sort of waited and gave just enough outside to Nicholas to make Nicholas make that decision. And he was sort of like, he was in that situation where, like, if Nicholas had have popped the pass, he was close enough to like spring the other way. And because of how dangerous Logan had been throughout the game up until that point, I actually feel like he kind of psyoped the winger there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. But in saying that, week one in, anybody sort of doomsday prepping or anything like that, like,
It was a great tackle.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's not forget that, this is week one, and a lot of these kids are really young. Balmain, to their credit, like, all their boys are second year. So,
yeah, that's right. I think that's
a lot of them are. Not all of them.
I think it's an important point to make. Like, I think that the gap, that 1 year at that age, it's not inconsequential. There's a lot of development that occurs at that age.
I agree.
And the Magpies, they were ahead at halftime. So we're like, let's not talk like they got blown away, and the game was there to be equalized right at the end. And it was only a 12-point result at the end because of a very late try. So those two teams extremely evenly matched. Very, very exciting to see, the Balmain side actually get one up on the Magpies camp for a change.
I completely agree. It was awesome to see a side that went 0-9 last year get to a point where the game was in the balance and just and went on with it. Like, there are teams such as West Tigers, same as West Tigers' first grade team, that sometimes get to those points and sometimes they just don't have what it takes.
And that's part of why I was so impressed with Tanous, because it was him that did that. Like, his poised decision-making, kicking game, he didn't do anything that gave Wests an inch. There was, like, when the game was in the balance, Wests had to try to pull it out of a hat. Like, he didn't give them an inch, and they were unable to do so, even though their talent level was good enough to put themselves in the position to nearly get it done.
Absolutely. Looking to next week, Balmain have St. George at Lidcombe Oval, their first game at home, technically. To give you an idea, Souths beat St. George 58-12, which is not necessarily alarm bells. It's week one, things go wrong. But I'm really, really interested to see how Balmain go. First game at home against a team that, you sort of look at and go, oh, maybe they're a bit off the pace. Hopefully they can go two in a row. And then obviously West are playing at Moorebank against the Dogs, who actually lost week one, which is not characteristic of them. Now, they lost to Canberra, who are always a solid junior reps outfit, but really, really interesting. Coming up against some ex-West and Balmain affiliated Pathways players in sort of Paul Johnson and Alex Conti. So really, really interested to see how they go. And there's been some changes. As far as I'm aware, Balmain have pretty much named the exact same side as they did last week. But Riley Ointman to the back, as we mentioned, Ali's out. Curtis Dupont comes in on the wing. Callum McMenemy is starting. Glassy is gone. I'm not too sure where he is, whether or not that's injury or being dropped. Fagalele or Junior Fagalele will make his club debut at 5'8". Archie Duncombe's moved to the front row, really interesting, and Peter Tice starts. Dane Ransom's dropped off the bench. He goes back to 18th man as co-captain Denzel Schaffhausen-Mino with, I reckon, one of the absolute great West Magpies Pathways names. He will start his SG ball campaign for 2025 in Jersey 15, which I'm really, really excited about. So it's going to be another great weekend of Pathways action. Just having a look at Harry Matt's week one. Similar story for St. George's Harold Matt side against South. They were beaten quite convincingly 32-8. So I'm really interested to see how Balmain bounce back, because again, it was just one of those games where they looked well coaching in the contest, but there was just some key moments that they missed. And in the end, West had all the running and all the momentum and ran away with it second half. So I'm very, very keen to see how that goes. The Dogs and the Magpies is going to be two absolute heavyweights, two teams that I expect to be there when the whips are cracking as well. So very, very excited nonetheless. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, not really. I think that it's probably worth mentioning, the Magpies Harold Matthews side, are mostly all in their last year of Harold Matts, or at least the core members of that team. So that alone is probably enough to kind of imply why maybe they were like, they've got the talent level and the maturity, whereas in the SG Ball they had the talent level but not necessarily the maturity, and Balmain had both. So yeah, look, I wouldn't take too much away from it to the negative for any of those teams that lost, really. I know Balmain ended up getting lapped, but at that age group, momentum can get on top of you, and you just they don't know how to bounce back. They haven't gone through that turbulent emotional experience of being in the grind and getting like, a bit of a hurry up. So it's not that big of a deal. But look, I think that all games are winnable. I think that the Magpies versus Bulldogs Harold Matthews game is, very interesting. I'll definitely be tuning into that one.
That will absolutely serve as a as one to watch for the entire season. To be honest, that's one for your little black books. Business, mate. Let's let's call it there, and we'll talk with everybody. Not next week, in a few days when the Johanssons are due to arrive.
Yeah, very exciting. Great to have our first player interviews coming up in a couple of days, and we'll drop that as soon as we can. So you probably expect that one Friday or Saturday or something like that.
Beautiful, love it. All right, well, guys, it's West Tigers faithful yet again. Thank you for your help and your listening, and everybody who submitted their questions. Hopefully, everybody. We only had 20 minutes with Shannon, as you could probably anticipate, but I hope that you got the answers that you needed, and we'll see you in a few days.